And we're back. We are going to talk about professional brand, your personality and presence that you present to the corporate, or not necessarily the corporate, but to your professional world, whatever profession you end up joining. Um, this does correspond with part of chapter 10 in your textbook. So if you have not read that, or if you want to just put a bookmark in that this is reading, you are not reading all of chapter 10 this week. You are only reading up through page 2. uh, let's see, you're reading pages 257 through 264. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that that was the right page. So 257 through 264 are your pages for this week. We will be adding more pages from this chapter next week. All right, so that kind of gives you your kind of place where we are right now. So professional brand, your personality and presence. To present your professional brand successfully, you have to understand what is it the employers are looking for. So first, you'll want to understand potential employers in your field that you are considering going into. So it's always good to start with some research. And then you'll be able to decide how to craft the materials that you need to present your brand to the world. Those of you that are in business specifically right now have probably heard all about this professional brand before. So this might be, not new information for you, but there are people who are not in business, who are in other fields, who haven't really talked about this much. So there are 5 guidelines in determining how to develop your professional brand that I would like you to pay attention to. The first one is research. So anything you do in trying to find the right job, trying to present yourself professionally, trying to get into the professional world should involve research. One of the best ways to go about this kind of research is to look at online presence. So if you know of certain companies that maybe it's a dream company that you want to work for, or a realistic one that you want to work for, or maybe that's both. Maybe your dream company is actually realistic. I would encourage you to go online, look at that company's website, social media pages, especially things like Twitter and Facebook, looking at different people that they present. So often those are the high-ranking people, the CEO, CFO, and whatnot. Look for those people's LinkedIn profiles and Facebook pages and Twitter pages. So don't just stop with the company, but look at those people. Look at their social media platforms. Where are they active? What are they doing in those places? What kinds of information do they present about themselves? LinkedIn is a wonderful place to be looking for more professional type stuff, and then the other social media platforms are kind of that, usually more of a blend of personal and professional, unless someone maintains both personal pages that are more private access, and then the more public professional page that anyone can see. But you can get a feel for what kind of information they present and how they present themselves online. And that can give you a lot of information about how you should try to present yourself within, of course, all of those ethical considerations that we have talked about, which leads us to the next one, which is truth. Tell the truth about yourself. Okay. We just talked about how companies do search online. They do look for information about you. They will look at your social pages. They will look at anything that that includes you. So they'll go to your college and your previous employers and other things you're associated with and look to see if you are who you say you are. So make sure you're telling the truth about yourself. Professionalism. You want to show in your job search materials, your job application materials, that you can write clearly and correctly. And a lot of that you do actually demonstrate through your social media as well. So you want to not share private information about your current or past employers or colleagues. So that goes back to those obligations of loyalty and confidentiality. Right? When it comes to skills, find out what the employers are looking for. And if you don't match exactly what they're looking for, don't say that, okay, well, I can't apply to this job. Figure out how you can demonstrate how the qualifications that you do have are of benefit to that company in that position. Right? So that you are being honest, you're telling the truth, you're clear that you don't have exactly what they're looking for, what they say they're looking for, but you have something to offer that's good. You may not get the position you apply for, but often if you really present yourself well and you present the qualifications that you have in such a way that the employers really are interested and they think, wow, this person has something to offer us, they'll remember you. And when a position comes up that you are qualified for, that you do match what they're looking for, they will contact you. Right? So you want to make sure that you're presenting yourself really well, even if you don't have exactly the qualifications. But make sure that you are working on the kinds of qualifications that employers in your field are expecting. Accomplishments. Show that you can identify problems and find solutions. That's really important. Remember, we've talked about how problem and solution is the basis of all technical writing. So try to figure out how you can show your problem solving skills, that you can find solutions to problems. And anytime you can present your accomplishments as quantifiable data, that's wonderful. I'm going to be sharing next week a screenshot of something that was just shared with me a couple of days ago that is a resume that will kind of highlight, it'll give a really humorous example of quantifying your accomplishments. So if you're not quite sure what that is right now, that's okay. We are going to be looking at that, but that is a guideline you want to keep in mind. So we're kind of prepping for this resume and cover letter work that we're going to really be working on next week. Right, so your challenge is to attract employers successfully whether or not you are actively seeking employment. You want to have the kind of professional brand, the personality and presence that employers seek out, even when you are happily employed somewhere else. So how do you present your brand? Well, the best way is with a professional website. We will be developing professional websites later on this semester. It's toward the end of the semester that we're doing that. We're doing a lot of other work first. For various reasons. One is to get your resume under control, have you experience with a cover letter. You're also going to be working on several different kinds of technical documents, and those technical documents could be content that you can include in that professional website. And you'll also have opportunities to develop your own what we call writer's choice content for your professional website. So we're going to be developing that, but that is really the best way to present yourself online, your best online presence. And if possible, your own name, your professional name as the domain name is the best way to do it. When we do develop ours, we're using free versions of Wix or Weebly, which means that you will not have your own specific domain name. You might have your first name and last name at Weebly, .com instead of just firstname.lastname.com, but you should still try to create that professional name that, for your site. Your site should include not only your contact information, but your professional history, work samples, links to your social media sites, any publications that you have. So if you've published a paper or you've created something, any awards you've won, those kinds of things should feature on your website. LinkedIn. If you don't have a LinkedIn page, this is the time to start building your LinkedIn profile. It's the major social media platform used by employers to find employees. So we were just talking about how having this really good online presence, presenting yourself in such a way that you're attracting potential employers even when you're happily employed and you're not looking actively for a job. LinkedIn is a great place for that. People look, specifically on LinkedIn to find people who match the jobs that they are recruiting for, and then they will contact them through LinkedIn. So the more you have a robust LinkedIn site, that you participate in some forum discussions, you make connections, you endorse others, you are more likely to be contacted by people through LinkedIn. Unfortunately, I'm a bad person for LinkedIn. I actually was contacted by someone with a job that would have been something I probably would have really enjoyed. This was several years ago, but I had not been active on LinkedIn and I didn't check my messages and I missed that opportunity. I still kind of kick myself for that sometimes, because like I said, I probably would have really enjoyed that job. But that was my own fault. I encourage you to not be like me, but I'm also not actively looking for anything, and kind of, I'm good with where I am right now, so I'm not too worried about that. But for those of you who are trying to establish yourself in your career, being on LinkedIn is great. And I have friends who, and colleagues, former colleagues who are very active on LinkedIn, and that has really taken their careers farther than they ever thought they could, just by the connections that they're making and the relationships that they have and the presence that they've built. So while I'm not asking you in this class to formally do LinkedIn, I'm encouraging you on your own to think about that, to check it out, to look for different profiles that you can look at, and see what's out there, and consider starting your own LinkedIn page if you haven't already. This is a video that I do want you to watch. It is short because it's TikTok, and TikTok is designed for those of us like me who often have the attention span of a flea or a fly, or a cat. So don't take that as an insult because I said like me, but it's to let you know it is a very short video, and it's a video from a professional job coach, and she talks about how she can predict the layoffs at various companies and how that's affected the current job market. We've been hearing in the last year or two about how there's a labor shortage, and we see examples of that at some of the stores and restaurants and whatnot that we used to go to that have shortened their hours or have closed down because they just don't have enough people, or have gone to fewer days a week because they just don't have the workers. And there is a general labor shortage, but for the really choice positions in a lot of companies, they're not even advertising those. They're going and recruiting, usually through professional recruiters or from dedicated people in their HR departments that this is their actual job, is going and recruiting candidates using LinkedIn. So that's just a little boost maybe for developing your LinkedIn presence. So just to watch this, you don't have to have TikTok. Just click on this link and you'll be able to watch that video. Right. Other ways to present your brand, of course, involve Facebook. I know many of you younger people think Facebook is for old people, but Facebook is still used by the old people who will be trying to hire you. So go where they are. Set up your own public professional Facebook page and only use it for professional stuff. Don't post about your family or your vacations, your hobbies, or things on that. Just use it for sharing information related to your profession, the one you're interested in, articles that you read, videos that you watch, podcasts, tweets that you find interesting or informative, and you're just sharing those so that you're kind of becoming interesting and useful to other professionals in your field or in related fields. On Twitter, again, set up a public professional Twitter page account, and then follow the influential people in your industry to see the kinds of activities, the media, the articles, the conferences that interest them. Comment on the posts that you find really interesting of theirs, even if you never expect to hear back from them at all. Just comment, retweet things that you find interesting, link to relevant media. And if anyone does message you and it's a legit message, go ahead and engage with them. Have a conversation. If you're not comfortable with those private messages, ask to take it to the public comments, or ignore if you really feel uncomfortable. Listen to your gut on that. But setting up a Twitter presence is really useful in your job search, in presenting your brand to the professional world. And then we have, sorry, the fire trucks. Then we have the business cards, the old standbys here with the business cards, creating a simple business card that has your contact information, a little bit of information about your skills, and even a URL or even QR code for your professional website is a really good thing, and having some of those on hand. They're actually really cheap to get printed. You don't have to go overboard on these, and you don't have to already have a job to have a business card. That reminds me when my younger brother was, I don't know, he was like 11 or 12. He talked my parents into letting him make business cards, and he just had his name, and he had entrepreneur on there with a little bit of information about his blooming skills in building computers. And he ended up actually getting business. He was building and repairing PCs for people for money as a 12, 13-year-old kid. It took him a little bit, but he'd hand out his business cards, and he started getting business from people. Like, that was really crazy, but he's a web programmer now, so I guess it paid off. Anyway, and then the other thing that's really good for you to do is to develop and practice a 20 to 30 second speech introducing yourself and your credentials and skills to a prospective employer. You never know when you're going to meet someone who could be a really good contact, who could really be a source for a potential job. If you can present yourself well and in your professional skills and knowledge and goals in a very short amount of time, 20 to 30 seconds maximum, you can make some really good contacts that way, especially if you have a business card to pass on at the same time. And if that business card has the URL and or the QR code for your professional website, and you have maybe your LinkedIn information on that business card and other contact information, you might find yourself getting some really good opportunities just by doing something simple like that. I know it sounds simple. It takes a bit of work, especially to get it down to 20 or 30 seconds, but it's worth it. Right. Okay, so I will stop this video and create the next one on the job search and finding the right position